name is Oren Lewis. I'm the co-founder of the ACLT, which is the African Caribbean Leukemia Trust, and I'm also the co-chair of the National BAME Transplant Alliance, the NBTA. But more importantly, I'm the father of a boy who's very much a catalyst for change on serious health issues like donating something of yourself. His name is Daniel DeGale. Now, Daniel suffered from all forms of donation. Initially started with us needing a bone marrow stem cell donation, which took 6 years before a donor was found because of the same problem in the black community on stem cell donation as you find in organ donation. He also needed blood transfusions right from the age of 6, right through his journey. Issues on race matching, on well-matched blood comes into that as well. But at the end, he needed an organ transplant. And that's the reason why I started and then my family started, because of self-need. Daniel passed away 10 years ago of multiple organ failure. He was just about to be blue lighted to the Royal Free Hospital, but he didn't make it. Now, Daniel's shown, and one person and the community can show, when you get a catalyst who makes people sit up and feel the message from the heart. And Daniel and myself and his mom and our charity and broader challenges that are going on have made a difference on the big spike relatively on stem cell bone marrow donation. Blood donation is picking up. There's still more work to do. But on organ donation for the last 10 years, we've been doing a lot of work individually, collectively, through the NBTA to try and get black people to step forward. And even when I was coming into the building just now, someone recognized me and congratulated me on the work we're doing. Congratulations are fine, and we're speaking to the converted already in this room. There's those who are watching and listening, and those who are seeing social media messages and the likes have to feel this going forward, because we want people to be signing up in Daniel's name or anyone's name, in Bobby's name or whoever's name, to step forward. And the black community, the Asian community, those two communities alone are suffering. And to me, we're at a real endemic point right now, because we're shedding blood on the streets. Every day it seems that a 14-year-old black boy gets killed. And that crisis is going on. But at the same time, the lack of inertia within our communities on this end, on saving each other's life, but they don't seem to realize or don't seem to appreciate how on certain organs, the tissue matching, it comes down to ethnicity. We have to take this message back to our communities through this and onwards, because the clock is ticking. We've got just over a year before legislation will kick in. And just like the crisis on the blood donation side, where sickle cell patients desperately need blood, on the stem cell bone marrow side, where we need more black and Asian donors, even more so on the organ donation side, if we don't do something now, everyone else outside our communities is going to be looking and saying, well, we would love to help you, but we cannot. So it is up to us. And so today we really need to come out of this from a self-need, which is why I started, but take it beyond that so that we get more people having these donor cards and making it much more the case of we're the majority and the minority of those are like feeling I need to actually be on the case because we are discriminating against our own. So it's up to us. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you very much for that very powerful message. Of course, this is about how we...
Just want to emphasize one or two things that have been said earlier in terms of the starting point of this conversation that we need to have in our communities is understanding what are the barriers, the myths and fears and taboos that can be overcome, and who the messenger is. When me and my wife Beverly DeGale started our journey for our son on the stem cell bone marrow side, we had the same problem then. Black people would not register as bone marrow stem cell donors because of the many prevalent myths and fears and taboos out there. We got through that, which is why now when you mention bone marrow stem cell donation within the black community, it's not a case of who, what, no, I'm not even going to consider it. Now there's a conversation going on and people are registering and lives are being saved. I got a phone call just today to say that someone that joined at a football tournament recently in June last year is now being considered to be a donor. and things like that. People coming to hair shows because they got the message in the way, in their comfort zone, in their domain. That's what you do. You take the message, put it to the right messenger, and give it to the people in their whether it's their home or a social function, or whether it's a social media or whatever platform. And what resonates a lot are case studies, successful case studies, like my son's, Daniel De Gale, and other case studies that actually get people to say, you know what, I can do something. And you get a huge domino effect, because now lives are being saved on the stem cell side. The same thing is happening, but to a lesser degree on organ donation. But next to me, this young man, Lonyo, is the embodiment of what can be done when someone is actually going through this and actually finds a donor and is actually there going out and speaking. And I think, Lonyo, if you say one, two things just to highlight the point I'm making.
Hi, my name's Lonyo Ngeli. I have had a career in music and TV. I'm very fortunate. In 1992, while I was at Queen's Park Rangers, I was diagnosed with diabetes. So I was sent home from England camp, and 2 days later, I was diagnosed with diabetes and I was on insulin. So I was on insulin for around 24, 25 years, and then the complications started. Loss of nerve tissue, eyesight, partially going blind in one eye, high blood pressure and the like. And then it transferred in 2015 to my organs. So I was told by one of the doctors that my organs were failing and it was working at 27%. And if I didn't have emergency surgery to start dialysis, then I would probably die within 2 months. So my family background is my dad was a neurologist for 30 years in the NHS. And I was never a donor. We'd never spoke about it. It was never something that came up. And up until 2015, a lot of these stories I'm hearing, a lot of myths around what the NHS wouldn't look after you properly if you donated. Where would your organs go? Would they look after you? The list goes on. But when I went forward into my dialysis, as soon as I walked in the ward on my first day, I noticed that 80% of the people in dialysis were black. Yeah. Old, 50 and over, so apologies to anyone who's over 50. Middle-aged, there you go. There is an echo in here. And it shocked me. And it was then my eyes were opened to the lack of organ donation within the black and Asian minority groups. I was on dialysis for 6 months, and my surgeon, one of my doctors, said to me, if you go on the kidney donor list, you might wait between 3 and 5 years for an organ. However, if you go on the dual donation list, which is a new pancreas because you're a diabetic and a new kidney, then the wait will be significantly less. Having been grounded from filming and music and stuff like that, having to stay close to my hospital, having to be on 200 mils fluid limit a day, which included meals, my thought process was just to get it over with as soon as possible. So I said, yeah, just put me on the double organ transplant list. Within 3 months, I received a call, and I was fortunate enough to get a double organ transplant. So in November 2015, November the 4th, I had a 13-hour operation and 4 months in hospital, but I'm no longer a diabetic and I no longer have to do dialysis, which I'm very fortunate for. I think what disappoints me a little is that after I realized how lucky I was and I tried to go back into the hospitals and offer my services as someone who is quite well known in the music industry, one of the few British actors to win an award in America, that I would offer my services for free to speak to young people, similar age group to myself, who would understand the language I would use. And it was a bit like applying for an astronaut's license. It was just brick wall after brick wall. So it is a bit it does knock your confidence a bit. I still do a lot. I'm a radio presenter, so I do a lot. I try and do what I can. However, I think the platform, especially with people who've received organ donations, I wasn't a parent before. I've since had a baby girl who's 18 months. I have another baby girl on the way. And so a lot of people have talked the talk. I can talk the talk and walk the walk because I've been there. And I just think, like this lady said here, there needs to be a platform where there are hundreds of myths going around, but there isn't one direct place to dispel those myths, for someone to throw a link up and say, actually, no, this isn't true. That doesn't happen. This happens. But yeah, I'm just very grateful, and I think this is amazing that we're all here today sharing our stories.